I'm Libby Wayman, and I'm here at the Dome in Davos with Peter Godar, the founder and CEO of Found Industries. Peter, tell us about the company.
Thank you, Libby. Found Industries is solving some of the most important problems at the intersection of energy and materials supply chains. We set out to commercialize technology that enables behind-the-meter heat delivery for heavy industry. And as we were commercializing this technology, we realized that we actually needed to vertically integrate to secure some of the materials that we need to make this technology work. These materials like gallium, germanium, indium, these metals are wholly controlled by China. And so if you want to commercialize any technology that relies on these metals, even if you want other technologies like optoelectronics, power electronics, then you're really at the mercy of geopolitics. And so we started developing technologies that enable us to vertically integrate, extract these metals from domestic ores and allied ores, and really seize control of our own destiny.
And what's the approach that you're taking to processing these metals?
So I like to say what we do is sort of supply chain engineering. We figure out where in the supply chain is the optimal point to deploy technologies that we develop to co-extract these metals alongside aluminum oxide or zinc products or lead products, where you typically find these trace elements riding along in those ores. And we work with these refineries to figure out the optimal case. And, these refineries, they understand that they have these low concentrations, these important metals in their process streams. But when they go to their EPCs or their typical technology providers, they realize there's no off-the-shelf solution to pull out these metals because most of the metals are made in China. Therefore, most of the technologies and the reagents that you need to produce these metals are also produced in China. And so, we're like an EPC plus where we can use the off-the-shelf components and tricks and tricks of the trade, but we also can develop targeted new technologies that don't rely on the Chinese tool chains.
And you deploy with existing refineries, so you're not necessarily building a whole processing plant from scratch. Is that correct?
Exactly. So our first projects are actually in gallium. We work with alumina refineries that process bauxite ore, which is very well diversified geographically. And we deploy non-ion exchange-based technologies, which is how it's produced in China. And we go in there, we basically surgically remove these metals. We actually provide some additional services. We clean up the process stream. We remove toxic contaminants like vanadium and arsenic just as an additional service to the refineries. And we just are aiming to be very good industrial partners with these folks.
And geopolitical risk and supply chain resilience is certainly a topic of discussion here at Davos. What are you hearing and what are you taking away from being here this week?
The interesting thing is what I'm not hearing at Davos, and people aren't actually talking enough about these trace metals that really are the backbone of the AI infrastructure. Without gallium, for example, you don't get gallium nitride, which means you don't get efficient switching power electronics, which means that your data centers don't run as efficiently. Without indium, you don't get indium tin oxide. You don't get optoelectronics with germanium, for example. So fiber optics fail. You need germanium in your fiber optic cables. And even though you don't need very much of these metals, China has the ability to really cut off the supply, and then all of those downstream materials cease to become readily available.
And you're one of just about a dozen CEOs selected by Climate Scale Up to participate in this cohort at Davos. What have you learned from your cohort and from the Climate Scale Up group?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a really interesting time to navigate from the geopolitical situation to the AI boom or bubble, whatever you want to call it. And so just being amongst other CEOs and seeing how they're approaching navigating this tumultuous time has been really inspiring to me, and I've learned a lot from my peers here.
Great. Peter Godar, founder and CEO of Found Industries. Peter, it's been great to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Libby.